Dudes and dudettes, how are you guys? This is Chazzy and welcome back to Cinema Chazzy, and today we're going to be talking about a sequel that is quite something. You know, it's a very special sequel because usually movie sequels suck, and this one is pretty much the opposite. You know, it is the sequel to one of the best horror movies I have ever seen in my entire life, which I did review recently, The Conjuring 2. Okay, it's all good. So guys, like I said before in that other video, I'm going to be doing kind of like a marathon of the Conjuring movies. You know, I'm going, not really a marathon of watching, but reviewing. You know, I'm going to be talking about all of them one after the other. You know, the first three in the main series, and then later on, slowly, gradually, I will be doing the spin-offs and whatnot, you know. And I apologize ahead of time if the lighting seems a little weird. It's because it's really kind of dark outside. It's cloudy, you know. It's a very overcast day, you know, so it might be a little dark, but I'm gonna try to fix what I can in post, you know. It's all good, guys. It's all good out here because you know the Chazzy. But anyway, so let's talk about the movie itself, eh? So it picks up a few years, well, not really a few, well, I mean, the sequel itself, the movie came out 3 years later, but the story is actually a couple of down the line. But anyway, so now, this time around, we are all the way over in the UK, we are in England, you know, and the movie is based on the very famous, but at the same time controversial, 1977 Enfield Poltergeist case, you know, where, in case you guys don't know, a family and two of the sisters, you know, they kind of, how can I explain this without being insensitive? They were accused of faking the whole thing, you know, like it was a whole hoax, you know, and there are a lot of investigations and the people swear that it was real and others swear that it was a hoax, you know, this and that. But the point is that the movie deals with the events, and of course, being a Hollywood fabrication, takes a lot of liberties with what actually happened, you know, and gives us kind of like a whole new story. You know, it takes what all already happened and kind of builds on it a little bit, you know, so that's what I'm going to be talking about today. Now, right off the bat, the movie is excellent. I love it so much, and I actually would go on to say that it's even better than the original, you know. However, if you guys watched my top 10 movies of all time, top 10 movies ever released video that I did some time ago, very recently, you're going to see that the first Conjuring movie actually made the list, you know, not the second one. Why is that? Because the first one was the very first in the line of the Conjuring verse, you know, it kind of introduced us to a lot of the tropes that we would see in this universe, and all the characters and stuff, and the plot developments. So I consider the first one to be much more symbolic, but the second one is personally a little better to me, you know, because it really built on everything that we thought was going to happen, you know. The first movie had a lot of really good things happening. Then there were a lot of expectations, you know, that we had for the second one that were actually realized and even went above and beyond. So the second one now deals with a little family in England who's going through a few instances of paranormal activity because of supposedly this old man who lived there before and he died, and now he just wants to reclaim his house, you know. So at first, the primary antagonist is Bill Wilkins, who's the old man who goes around scaring everyone, especially Janet, who's the youngest daughter, because for some reason the ghost wants her specifically. I don't know why. I mean, normally in these scenarios, the spirits or ghosts or demons will go after the youngest, you know, and she's not the youngest in the family. She's actually almost the middle child, you know. So why it went for her specifically, I don't know. Maybe it's because she doesn't have a strong fatherly presence in her life, so she's feeling weak and vulnerable. I don't really know, but the theories abound. But the point is that the demon latches itself onto her, the spirit, you know. It wants to haunt just her. And then of course we do get the Warrens involved. Ed and Lorraine, they come to investigate, still played by Patrick and Vera Farmiga, who I think have a really good chemistry together, and they are just the two perfect actors to play the role of Ed and Lorraine Warren, in my honest opinion, you know. So the movie establishes right from the get-go that it's a whole different thing, you know, because everything feels very like moody and blue and cold and desaturated, you know, because I don't know, because England is a cold place, you know, and it happens I think around the winter time. So you guys might be thinking like, what does this have to do with the actual movie itself? Well, because the colder a place is, the more vulnerable you feel as a person, you know. Like if you're being haunted by a poltergeist or a demon and you're in a very cold room, you know, because usually we associate cold weather with the paranormality. Like for example in the original Exorcist, you know, way back in the 70s, you know, the room got very cold as the demon took more and more of a firmer hold of Regan. So, you know, there's that.
Get out now. No, this is not your house. Now, what's your name?
My name is Bill Wilkins, and I'm 72 years old.
What do you make of that voice?
Sounds confused. Is he senile?
The voice on this tape is coming from an 11-year-old girl.
So anyway, the very same way that James Wan directed his ass off in the first Conjuring movie, he did it again here in the second one, and he really outdid himself, you know, to be honest, because, I mean, you see kind of like the stylistic, directorial direction that he takes, you know, you kind of recognize that it was him directing it, much how the next one, The Conjuring 3, didn't have him, so it was completely different, but you see, like, you can kind of really see the message he was going for, you know, there is real true terror in the way that James Wan directs his movies, you know, and the cinematography, don't even get me started on that, you know, absolutely brilliant, or as the English would say, absolutely brilliant, so marvelous. It was really nice to go to a different country and see a different culture altogether, you know, the whole English invasion thing, you know, way smack dab in the late 70s, so it was really cool to see that as well, a different language being spoken, so it's almost like you go from The Conjuring, which is in rural North America, all the way to England, you know, so it was really interesting. It further changed the dynamic there too. And now we finally get a taste of Valak, who becomes pretty much the primary antagonist of the entire series, you know, and he goes on to have his own little spin-off called The Nun, so we get introduced to him, you know, and then as the movie goes on, as the plot develops more and more, we see that the demon Valak is actually the one who's pulling the strings behind the whole thing, you know, he is orchestrating everything and kind of using the old man Wilkins to kind of haunt the people that he wants to, so he can't be detected by Lorraine's, you know, paranormal sight, which doesn't make a lot of sense, because I mean, you're talking about a woman who has, you know, paranormal sight. No, sorry. She has like a supernatural sight to detect inhuman spirits, and it was blocked by an inhuman spirit. So a little bit of a plot hole there. But anyway, so the point is that the events start to get a little bit more interesting, because at one point we see that it's not just Bill Wilkins or even the demon Valak involved. No. Because you see, it's just like Spider-Man 3, because not satisfied with giving us already 2 villains, we get a third one. We get something called the Crooked Man. You know, the Crooked Man, he goes aspire to a crooked elm. I just can't do that part right there. But anyway, so apparently there's going to be another spin-off of just this character, which I'm very curious to know how they're gonna pull this one out of their ass, you know, because they came up with something in the movie and now they just have no idea where to go. But anyway, so the Crooked Man is an entity who is apparently in one of the little toys, the not a kaleidoscope, a little carousel that one of the kids has, you know, and it sings a song about the Crooked Man, and it also shows a little picture of him running around, you know, and then at one point when the hauntings become too heavy to bear in their house, they go stay at the neighbor's house, and that's when the Crooked Man, it's a very interesting scene, because it shows the little toy spinning with the picture of the Crooked Man, and then the picture disappears, and it's like, whoa, wait a second. I know where this is going. I know where this is going, you know. The movie actually had a lot of really good scares, man. You know, I don't think there was one single cheap jump scare. Everything was just so perfectly orchestrated, you know. And then the Crooked Man, he actually appears in the neighbor's house and scares one of the kids, you know. It still doesn't make sense. Like, does he actually present a danger, or is he just there to screw around with everyone and pad the runtime? I don't know, but there were a few really interesting scenes, like when Valak, like we're back in the Warrens' house in America, and then Valak shows up, and there's a painting of him that was actually made by Ed, who was hung on the wall for some dumb reason. Why would you hang that on the wall? And then you see the shadow of Valak walking along the walls and going behind the painting, and then his hands come out and he boom comes out Lorraine, you know. So that was really, really cool. That was really, really cool, you know. The movie has so many creative moments, you know, and I just can't get enough.
Janet, are you alright?
Stop calling me Janet.
She's such a good girl. What's there wrong with her?
An oppressing spirit will try to force you to commit the ultimate sin.
And what's that?
Murder, suicide, or both.
Now, the movie was pretty critically acclaimed. It was very successful because it had a budget of $40 million and grossed over $320 million in the end. So it was a pretty successful damn movie, you know? And I really like it a lot for many different reasons. You know, one of them is because it's connected to the Conjuring verse, and I love all of these movies here except for the third one. I'm gonna get to that later. But the point, guys, is that these movies, like I said before in the other review, they draw from actual facts, you know? These are all based on true stories. And like the Enfield Poltergeist case itself, you know, maybe I'll do another video about that in the future by itself, you know, but like just talking a little bit about it here right now. It's basically like how the girls were alleging that there was something haunting the house, you know, and then there were some interviews and audio tapes that actually shows one of them supposedly being possessed, you know, because you hear her talking in a voice that's not her own, a very deep guttural voice, you know. And then there are a few controversies here because, for example, there are photos of the girls supposedly levitating, you know, but you look at the photos and it's like, okay, they could have just jumped off of the bed and taken a photo at the right time. And the way that their bodies are kind of not contorted, but like the way that their bodies are stretched, it looks like they may have jumped off of the bed, you know, a couple seconds prior. But I don't know. Okay, that's just it really is up to debate. Obviously the family, you know, they swear on their mother's graves because the mother, Patty Hawkson, unfortunately passed away. The girls still swear on their mother's grave that it actually happened, you know. And hey, look, I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it. You know, it's like the Amityville Horror, you know. You can say it happened if you want to, and you really shouldn't care. Like if it actually did happen, then okay, you shouldn't care if nobody believes you or not, you know. But me, I'm a very skeptical person, so if I don't see it, I have a hard time believing it, you know. And if I don't see any evidence, it's the same thing. If I don't see photos or videos, you know, if I don't see anything that remotely proves to me that it did happen, then I have a hard time believing, you know. It's just me, okay. I'm not saying it's wrong or it's right, you know, and I'm not like outright saying that whatever happened in Enfield didn't happen. I'm just saying that I don't believe it did, okay. But it's whatever, okay. It's all good. You know, if you were only those who were there actually, you know what happened. But what really drives the nail into the coffin here is that the girls actually admitted that some of the events they did fake. So that makes it a little harder for me to believe as well, you know, because they allege that there was paranormal activity going on, but apparently because it drew so much attention to them and was making them become famous, they faked a few things just to get more and more attention, you know. So when you come up with a story like that, it's really hard to believe, you know. That's what I'm saying, you know. And apparently Lorraine gave credibility to it, so did Ed, you know. But I don't know, man. I don't know. But going back to the movie, I think that the pacing was really well, you know, because usually horror movies, they either use the formula of rushing to the scares or getting the scares out of the way quickly. They scare you right at the beginning, you know, or it's just a horror fest of blood and gore and this and that, you know, like those old slasher films. But this one was special, you know, because it took time to get to the scares. Like, you knew when they were gonna start, you know, you knew when they were gonna happen, and you were still really rife with anticipation, you know, because it was very slowly building up to a crescendo. And that's what I like the most, I think, you know, because it showed you that there was really something there if you just waited enough and be patient for everything to, you know, start happening, you know. When you see some character development, you know, the family really coming together. At first the mother doesn't believe the daughter about it, you know, but then slowly as things start to unfold, even the mother is a believer now. But of course they play around with the idea of it being a hoax in real life where everybody doesn't believe them anymore, you know, because Janet is seen faking something. So, you know, there's always a skeptic to to be a buzzkill. And then they eventually move away, but then they come back because, lo and behold, Lorraine finally detects phallic. And then they go back to the house, and that's when all hell breaks loose. Literally.
You believe us, don't you?
Sensing a presence?
I'm not sensing anything.
All I can sense is their own fear.
Honey, you're bleeding. What is happening?
I had a premonition of your death.
Now, being introduced to Valak in the finale was really, really cool because, I mean, we had already seen him in a few moments here in the movie here and there, but at the very end is when he shows his full force, you know, and a lot of things start happening. There's lightning and thunder, you know. Now, at first, I'm like, if the demon is this powerful, maybe you should just like let it win, like walk away and give up, because the damn thing can manipulate the weather, man, you know. And apparently it wanted to kill Ed, so it formed like a blade out of a tree so he can fall into it, you know. There was a whole there was a whole strategy there. But the finale of the movie was really dramatic and really cool because of this, you know, because it showed the demon obviously losing, because it's a movie that has to have a happy ending, you know. So they show the demon losing and everybody prevailing, but it was a pretty close call, you know, because Ed almost dies and pulls Janet down with him, you know. So it's really crazy, and the movie establishes a new bit of lore, which is how the demon can be controlled if you say its name. Like if you know its name and you say it to the demon, it gives you power over it, you know, it gives you dominion over it. So, but it's really funny because The Conjuring 2 has a few Easter eggs that actually spells out the name Valak a bunch of times, you know, like for example in the Bible or in a bookcase, the little letters that they have, or in a daughter's bracelet or necklace, you know, on some nightstands. So like obviously these are just Easter eggs, you know, they're there for us, the viewers, to see them, you know. And eventually Lorraine does actually say its name, and it's really cool because the demon makes a face like, oh my god, I'm so screwed, you know. The face that it makes is priceless, you know. And then obviously we want good to triumph over evil, so that was a moment where I was really cheering on, you know, when I saw it in theaters, so it was really cool. And then she banished it back to hell, and little did we know that it would eventually come back later and also have its own spin-off, you know, and this and that all over the place. But yeah, it's all good, guys. I reviewed The Nun a long time ago, you know. I actually watched it with a friend of mine. You guys can go watch it. It's a little bit different from my current Cinema Chazzy format because it was a long time ago, a couple of years before my channel was a little different, you know. I've been considering like re-recording it, you know, like maybe going back and re-reviewing some old movies, but I don't know. But so the point is that I think that the payout was really satisfactory, you know. And of course they show us at the very end, they play audio clips of the actual possession, you know, of Janet and the voice behind her and this and that. It seemed like it's really cool to keep this here, to keep the true story mythology here. And it's weird because the family still continued to live there even after everything that happened. And some time ago, Peggy, who's the mother, she actually died while sitting on the same chair that Bill Wilkins died in, you know, the ghost, the old man. So apparently he was able to move on, you know. And then some years later, after this whole thing in real life, it seemed like Bill Wilkins' son contacted, you know, the investigators because he recognized the voice of his dad, you know. But I don't know, it's all about, it all comes down to what the hell you want to believe, you know. But The Conjuring 2 is definitely one of the best movies I have ever seen in my entire life, be it horror or otherwise, you know. And to me it's better than the first one, or just as good. It really depends, man, because the first one is something special, you know. I will never get enough of the first Conjuring movie. It really is something special. But the second one really took what made the first one good and improved on it, and that's what's impressive, you know, because usually sequels don't have this this ability, you know. But in this case it was really well done. Congrats to James Wan for making another superb movie. And unfortunately the next one is not as it's not the same. It's a little bit on a different Panama, but I'm gonna be reviewing the third Conjuring movie, The Devil Made Me Do It, very soon, so you guys can stick around for that. But anyway, if you watch the movie, you know, let me know what you... Oh yeah, I forgot, of course, the rating, obviously, 10 out of 10. Give it a perfect solid 10 out of 10 right there. Definitely deserves it. Amazing cinematography, photography, directing, casting, you know, the soundtrack, the plot, the elements, you know, everything about the movie was just flawless, just like the first one, so I have no complaints at all to make in relation to that department. But you know, it's all good. But anyway, guys, if you happen to like this video and if you like the movie, then give it a like, please, and subscribe to my channel because I release videos literally every single day, sometimes one, sometimes two. So hit the notification button to know exactly when I'm going to be uploading, because you never know what time they're going to be coming out, okay? So lock your doors tonight, close your windows, and beware the nun. So that's it, guys. This is Chazzy signing out for now, and as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Roll the outro screen.